It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, my 45th birthday, a milestone to celebrate with my wife and daughter, the anchors of my life. Instead, a single email cracked open a web of lies so twisted it choked the air from my lungs. My wife's secret lover, my daughter's cold betrayal, and a plan so cruel it nearly burned my family to ash. The truth? It was gleaming in a Tesla parked in my driveway, a gift I never saw coming, and a wound I'd carry forever. My name's Thomas Bennett, 45, a civil engineer who's spent 2 decades carving highways and bridges into Seattle's rain-soaked skyline. I'm a simple guy, black coffee, a toolbox I keep sharper than my temper, and a family I'd die for. For 18 years, I thought I had it all. Laura, my wife, a firecracker who planned corporate galas with a smile that could sell ice to a blizzard, and Emma, our 23-year-old daughter, whose spark was just starting to light up the world. Our Ballard home, a craftsman with ivy strangling the porch, wasn't fancy, but it was ours, paid for with sweat, a Subaru in the driveway, and memories of summer vacations to the Oregon coast. I built my life like the concrete foundations I poured, solid, unyielding. But one email, one fleeting moment, shattered it into jagged pieces. It was a gray Tuesday in March 2025, and I was at my desk, hunched over blueprints for a new I-5 overpass, the hum of Seattle's traffic a dull roar outside. My phone pinged, an email from Emma with the subject, "Dad, huge news!" My heart lifted. Emma's emails were bursts of sunshine, stories of her marketing gigs at Novatech, a tech startup that glittered like fool's gold. I opened it, expecting a tale of a new campaign or a quirky coworker. Instead, it hit like a sledgehammer. "Dad," she wrote, "I'm freaking out. I just got promoted to Director of Marketing at Novatech. Starting next week, I'm leading a team of 12, and my salary's $250,000 a year. Ryan, my boss, says I'm the future of the company. Can we celebrate soon? Love you." I read it twice, my pulse racing, pride warring with unease. Director at 23? $250,000? Emma was brilliant, valedictorian, UW scholarship. But this was a leap no one makes in a shark tank like Novatech, where MBAs claw for scraps. I pictured her in that sleek office, her auburn ponytail swinging, commanding a room. But $250,000? From Ryan Caldwell, a CEO whose name was plastered on every tech headline? Something felt wrong, like a crack in a bridge you can't see, but know will collapse. I forwarded the email to Laura, my fingers shaky. "Our girl's a superstar. Dinner tonight?" I typed, forcing a smile into the words. Laura's reply came fast, a cold slap. Great for her. She told me last week, swamped with a client. Later. I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. Laura knew for a week and didn't tell me? Emma's surprise, the one person I'd always shared everything with, kept from me? Laura's curt tone wasn't new. She'd been distant lately, buried in her event planning. But this was a betrayal, small but sharp, like a splinter under the skin. I called Emma, my voice tight. Her voicemail chirped, promising a call back. "Hey, kiddo," I said. "Director? I'm blown away. Let's celebrate. You name the place." I hung up, the knot in my gut tightening. Why the secrecy? Why the distance? I leaned back, memories flooding in. Emma at 5, her tiny hands clutching crayons as we drew bridges on the living room floor, her giggle echoing in our old apartment. That girl wouldn't hide from me. But this Emma, the one tied to Novatech and Ryan Caldwell, felt like a stranger. That evening, I got home to our house, the porch light flickering like my fading trust. Laura was in the kitchen, chopping onions for a stir-fry, her blonde hair a messy bun, her phone buzzing like a hornet's nest on the counter. She didn't look up, her knife slicing with a rhythm that screamed tension. "Heard from Emma?" I asked, leaning against the doorway, my voice sharper than I meant. "Yeah," she muttered, her eyes fixed on the cutting board. "Big promotion. Good for her." "Good?" I snapped, stepping closer, my hands clenching. "She's 23, Laura. And suddenly a director with a fortune? Why didn't you tell me she told you last week? What's with the secrets?" Laura's knife froze, her shoulders stiffening. She turned, her blue eyes flashing with something. Guilt. Anger. "Secrets?" she said, her voice low, dangerous. "Emma wanted to surprise you, Thomas. Don't turn this into a fight." Her phone buzzed again, and she grabbed it, her fingers white-knuckled, locking the screen before I could see. "Who's that?" I growled, my temper flaring, my hand slamming the counter hard enough to rattle the dishes. "Another client texting at 7 p.m.? Or someone else you're not telling me about?" That night, sleep was a stranger. At 1 a.m., I grabbed my laptop, the glow a harsh judge in our darkened bedroom. Laura was upstairs, her door locked, a new habit that twisted the knife. I Googled Ryan Caldwell, Novatech's golden boy, his LinkedIn a shrine to ambition. 38, Wharton MBA, Forbes 30 under 40. His photo, smug, yacht-ready, made my blood boil. A post caught my eye. Mentoring stars like our new director of marketing, Emma Bennett, with a picture of him and Emma, his arm around her, her smile tight, not the grin I knew. Why was a CEO cozying up to my daughter? Glassdoor whispers fueled my dread. Favoritism rules Novatech. Promotions for the CEO's pets. Was Emma his pet? Or worse? I called Mark, my lawyer buddy, from the garage, my voice a low snarl. "Mark, you know Ryan Caldwell or Novatech? Emma's promotion smells off, and Laura's acting cagey." Mark's pause was heavy. "Caldwell's a player, Thomas. Novatech's got SEC heat, shady deals, big promises. Emma's promotion could be a PR stunt or something personal. You okay?" "No," I said, my jaw tight. "Dig into it. I need answers." Back inside, I did something I swore I'd never do. Laura's phone was on the counter. She'd left it, a rare slip. I cracked her old iCloud password, 042302, Emma's birthday. Her messages with Ryan Caldwell were a punch to the gut. "Ryan, yesterday, 10:12 p.m. Need the money by tomorrow. Fairmont, 8 p.m. Laura, 10:14 de la noche. Got it. Emma can't slip. She's nervous. Thomas is clueless. Ryan, 10:15 p.m. Clueless is perfect. This surprise will break him." My vision blurred, my hands shaking as I scrolled. Hotel plans at the Fairmont. A surprise to break me. Emma's name tied to their scheme. Money? Was Laura cheating with Ryan? Was Emma helping her? I thought of the $50,000 Laura had saved for a vague project, her late nights, her locked phone. The photo Jake, Emma's co-worker, sent last week burned in my mind. Emma and Ryan at a restaurant, his hand on her arm, her laugh too intimate. My daughter, my blood, caught in their web, or worse, spinning it. I stumbled to the kitchen table, a whiskey bottle my only company, the glass trembling in my hand. 18 years of marriage, overtime for Laura's business, soccer games for Emma, every nail in this house. Had it all been a lie? I thought of Nathan, gutted by his wife's greed, and Gabriella, betrayed by those she loved. Was I them, blind until the knife was in my back? But I wasn't them. I was Thomas Bennett, and I didn't break. I built. If Laura and Ryan were scheming, if Emma had turned on me, I'd tear their lies apart. What I didn't know What I couldn't see through the haze of rage was that the truth wasn't in their texts or their secrets. It was waiting, polished and cruel, in a Tesla's red bow, ready to shatter me in ways no lie ever could. I stared into the dark, my heart a furnace of doubt, and whispered to the empty room. Trust was my foundation. Why does it feel like quicksand now? How do you hold yourself together when the two people you die for, your wife and your daughter, stab you in the back with secrets so vile they choke the air out of your lungs? That was the question I couldn't escape, standing in the wreckage of my Seattle home, my hands shaking with rage as I uncovered a betrayal that wasn't just personal. It was a calculated annihilation of everything I'd lived for. But the real terror, the one that kept me up until dawn, was this. What if their surprise wasn't just a lie, but a trap to strip me of my family, my dignity, and my life? The Seattle rain was a cruel mirror to the storm tearing me apart, pounding our Ballard home like a fist that wouldn't stop. It had been 7 days since Emma's email about her promotion to Director of Marketing at Novatech, a $250,000 a year job at 23, handed to her by Ryan Caldwell, a CEO whose slick smile hid a predator's teeth. Laura's icy dismissal of the news, her late-night texts, her locked phone, it was a neon sign screaming deceit. My family, the one I'd poured my blood and sweat into for 2 decades, was slipping through my fingers, and the deeper I dug, the uglier the truth became. I wasn't just Thomas Bennett, the civil engineer who built bridges. I was a man betrayed, my heart a live wire sparking with fury and grief, ready to burn it all down to find answers. It started with a moment that gutted me. Tuesday night, Laura was in our kitchen, her blonde hair spilling over her shoulders, her phone clutched like a lifeline. She was typing, her lips curled in a secret smile that didn't belong to me. When I stepped in, her eyes flicked up, guilty, and she slammed the phone face down on the counter. "Work?" I asked, my voice a blade, barely masking the rage simmering beneath. "Client!" she snapped, her fingers twitching toward the phone. "Some last-minute crap for the conference." Her voice was too sharp, her eyes darting to the side, a liar's tale I'd never seen in 18 years. "Client's text at 11 p.m., I said, stepping closer, my pulse hammering. "Or is that someone else?" Her laugh was a brittle shard of glass. "Don't start, Thomas. You know my job's a nightmare." She grabbed her phone and brushed past me, her perfume, once comforting, now a betrayal, choking me as she fled upstairs. I stood frozen, staring at the empty counter, my hands clenched into fists. Laura, my Laura, who'd danced with me in this kitchen, who'd cried in my arms when Emma was born, was hiding something, and I'd be damned if I let her play me for a fool. The next morning, I called Emma, my last lifeline, praying she'd pull me back from the edge. She answered on the 5th ring, her voice cold, distant, like a stranger wearing my daughter's skin. "Dad, I'm buried in work. Can this wait?" "Wait for what?" I said, my voice cracking with desperation. "For you to tell me why you're dodging me? Or why Ryan Caldwell's name is all over your life now?" A silence, sharp and heavy, stretched between us. "Ryan's my boss, Dad," she said finally, her tone laced with irritation. "He's mentoring me. Why are you acting like this?" "Mentoring?" I spat, my grip tightening on the phone. "Is that what you call it when you're at his place at night? Smiling for his photos? What the hell's going on, Emma?" "What?" Her voice rose, but it wasn't shock. It was defiance. "You're spying on me." "God, Dad, you're losing it. I have to go." The line went dead, and I hurled my phone onto the passenger seat of my truck, the sound of her dismissal echoing like a gunshot. "Emma, My little girl, who'd clung to me during thunderstorms, who'd drawn me bridges with crayons, had turned her back on me. For Ryan Caldwell. For whatever poison he was feeding her. That night, I crossed into darkness. Laura was gone again, claiming a client meeting in Bellevue, her car peeling out of the driveway like she couldn't escape fast enough. Alone in our house, the silence suffocating, I grabbed her phone from the nightstand. She'd left it behind, a rare mistake. Her passcode had changed, but I knew her too well. After 3 tries, I cracked it. 042302, Emma's birthday. The screen lit up, and I opened her messages. The thread with Ryan Caldwell was a dagger to my heart. Ryan, last night, 11:47 p.m. You're killing me. Last night was unreal. Tomorrow, Fairmont, 8 p.m. Laura, 11:49 p.m. Only if you stop tempting me. Thomas is blind, but we can't slip up. Ryan, 11:51 p.m. Blind works. Emma's shaky, but she's locked in. This surprise will crush him. Laura, 11:53 p.m. It better. I'm risking everything for this. I scrolled, my vision blurring, each word a fresh wound. Hotel meetups at the Fairmont downtown, whispers of a surprise that sounded like a guillotine, and Emma, my Emma, named as their accomplice. She's locked in. Locked in what? A plot to humiliate me? To steal from me? To erase me? The phone slipped from my hands, clattering to the floor, and I stumbled back, my chest heaving. 18 years of marriage, countless nights working overtime for Laura's dreams, coaching Emma's teams, fixing every crack in this house. Had it all been a lie? I thought of Nathan, gutted by his wife's greed, and Roland, who watched his marriage dissolve in texts like these. I wasn't them. I wouldn't be their tragedy. But God, it hurt like I already was. I fled to the garage, my refuge, where my toolbox sat under a flickering bulb. I gripped a hammer, its weight a promise of control, and smashed it against a scrap of wood, the crack echoing my breaking heart. Memories flooded me. Laura's vows under a Puget Sound sunset. Emma's tiny voice calling me Daddy as we built her treehouse. Now they were strangers, conspiring with a man who'd already taken too much. I wouldn't let them win. The next day, I called Mark, my lawyer friend, from a gas station payphone, paranoia driving me to avoid my cell. Mark, I growled, I need dirt on Ryan Caldwell and Novatech. Everything, finances, deals, secrets, and check Laura's accounts. She's hiding money, and Emma's in on it. Jesus, Thomas, Mark said, his voice tight. You sound like you're declaring war. What's happening? They're betraying me, I said, my voice shaking with rage. Laura's screwing around with Ryan, and Emma's helping her. I found texts, hotels, money, some surprise they're planning. I want them exposed. Mark exhaled. Okay, but this is heavy. Novatech's already on the SEC's hit list. Shady valuations, offshore accounts. Caldwell's neck deep in it. I'll pull their records and check Laura's financials. But Thomas, if this is fraud, it's not just personal. It's FBI territory. You ready for that? I'm ready for anything, I said, slamming the receiver down. That evening, I drove to Novatech's headquarters, a glass fortress in South Lake Union that mocked my pain. I parked in the shadows, watching. At 7 p.m., Emma stepped out, her auburn hair glowing under the streetlights, Ryan beside her, his hand on her lower back as they climbed into his black Tesla. They were laughing, their ease a slap to my face. My daughter, my blood, wrapped around a man who was tearing us apart. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, fighting the urge to ram his car, to scream, to do something, anything, to stop this nightmare. My phone buzzed, a text from Jake, Emma's co-worker, pouring salt on the wound. Thomas saw Emma at Ryan's condo again. They were all over each other. Sorry, man. Attached was a photo. Emma and Ryan on his balcony, her hand on his chest, his lips close to her ear. I roared, punching the dashboard, the pain in my hand nothing compared to the fire in my chest. My daughter wasn't just distant. She was complicit, seduced, or bought by a man who'd already claimed my wife. I couldn't wait anymore. When Laura came home at midnight, her coat soaked, her eyes hollow, I was waiting in the living room, the hammer still in my hand from the garage. "Laura," I said, my voice a low growl, "who's Ryan Caldwell to you?" And don't lie, I've seen the texts. Her eyes widened, then narrowed, her face a mask of fury. "You went through my phone?" she screamed, throwing her purse to the floor. "You're insane, Thomas. Ryan's a contact, nothing more. You're turning into a paranoid lunatic." "Then explain this," I shouted, shoving my phone in her face, the screenshot of her text glowing. "Thomas is blind, but we can't slip up. Explain the Fairmont, the surprise, Emma being locked in. You're cheating, and you're dragging our daughter into it." Laura's laugh was a bitter, broken thing. "Cheating? You think I'd throw away 18 years for Ryan Caldwell? You're pathetic. Emma's working her ass off, and I'm helping with a project. That's all. Get out of my face." She shoved past me, her shoulders slamming into mine, and stormed upstairs. The doors slam, a final nail in our coffin. I collapsed onto the couch, the hammer clattering to the floor, my rage dissolving into despair. Laura's denial was a performance, too polished, too rehearsed. And Emma's name in those texts, Emma, my heart, was proof of a deeper betrayal. I was alone, surrounded by enemies, in my own home. The next morning, Mark called, his voice grim. "Thomas, Laura got a $50,000 transfer from a Novatech shell company last week, labeled consulting. No evidence she worked for them. The account's secret, in her name only. And Novatech? SEC's closing in. Fraud, money laundering, all tied to Caldwell. If Laura's involved, this is bad. Federal bad." I hung up, my world crumbling. Laura was hiding money. Ryan was a criminal, and Emma was either their pawn or their partner. I thought of Mike, rising from betrayal's ashes, and Roland, dismantling his enemies with cold precision. I'd do the same. I'd tear their lies apart, expose their surprise, and make them pay. But what I didn't know, what I was too blind to see, was that my fury was building a cage of my own making, and the truth, locked in a gleaming Tesla, was about to shatter me in ways I'd never survive. How do you fight a war against the people you love most? Your wife, your daughter, when their betrayal cuts so deep it's carved into your bones? That was the question I wrestled with, standing in the rain-soaked shadows of Seattle. My heart a furnace of rage and sorrow as I crafted a plan to destroy the man who'd stolen my family. But the question that haunted me, the one I refused to face, was this. What if my vengeance was a blade aimed at the wrong hearts, and the truth was a wound I'd never outlive? The Seattle rain was a relentless curse, soaking my jacket as I stood outside our Ballard home, the place that once held my dreams, now a graveyard of broken trust. Laura's secret texts with Ryan Caldwell, the $50,000 wired to a hidden account, Emma's cold betrayal. Each revelation was a hammer blow, shattering the life I'd built over 2 decades. My wife was sneaking into hotel rooms with Novatech's CEO, a snake in a suit who'd bought my daughter's loyalty with a $250,000 job. I wasn't just hurt. I was a man unmoored, my love for them twisted into a fury that demanded justice. I'd been a civil engineer, building bridges to connect lives. Now, I'd build a trap to burn theirs down. Laura, Emma, Ryan. They'd rue the day they thought they could break Thomas Bennett. I wasn't Roland, dismantling foes with surgical calm, or Nathan, blindsided by a soldier's honor. I was a father and husband betrayed, my rage a wildfire, my grief a noose tightening with every lie. But my father, a hard-edged contractor, taught me to plan before swinging the hammer. So I planned, not with tears, but with a cold, calculated wrath that would make them feel the weight of their deceit. I started in the dead of night, in our garage, where my toolbox sat like a silent ally under a flickering bulb. I bought a burner phone from a sketchy Fremont gas station, my paranoia whispering that Laura was watching my every move. From it, I called Mark, my lawyer friend, my voice a low growl. "Mark, I need everything on Ryan Caldwell and Novatech. Financials, emails, dirt, and Laura's accounts. They're playing me, and I'm done being the fool." Mark's voice was cautious, but he didn't flinch. "Thomas, you're sounding like a man possessed. I've got a contact at the SEC who can pull Novatech's filings. Caldwell's tied to some shady deals, offshore accounts, inflated valuations. Laura's $50,000 came from a shell company. Not legit. But if this is fraud, it's FBI level. You're sure you want to go nuclear?" "Nuclear's too kind," I said, my jaw tight. "They've already blown up my life." I wasn't a hacker like Ingrid, but I knew how to dig. On my laptop, hidden behind a VPN, I scoured public records. Ryan owned a Belltown condo, the same address Laura marked as a client meeting in our shared calendar. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Belltown dinner. No client, just Ryan's penthouse. My blood boiled. Was she there, in his bed, while I sat home like an idiot? I cross-referenced Novatech's Glassdoor reviews. Favoritism runs deep. Promotions for the CEO's pets. Emma's face flashed in my mind, her sudden rise to director. Was she his pet, or worse, his pawn? I needed proof, not just hunches. Mark connected me with Carla, a private investigator with a rap sheet of her own, her gray eyes sharp as a blade. We met at a greasy diner off Aurora Avenue, the air thick with coffee and suspicion. "You want to nail your wife and this Caldwell guy," she said, scribbling on a napkin. "What else?" "Emma," I said, my voice cracking. "My daughter. She's tangled up with him, maybe willingly. I need photos, videos, everything. Start at his Belltown condo." Carla's eyebrow twitched, but she nodded. $2,500 for a week. You'll get your dirt. But Thomas? This kind of hunt breaks people. You ready to lose what's left? "I've already lost it," I said, sliding her the cash, my hands shaking with rage. 2 days later, Carla's email hit like a grenade. Photos. Laura and Ryan leaving his condo, his hand on her waist, her laugh cutting me deeper than any knife. Another showed them at a rooftop bar, wine glasses clinking, her fingers brushing his. The timestamp was 10:03 p.m., when Laura swore she was stuck at a client pitch. A third image stopped my heart. Emma, at the same bar, laughing with Ryan, her arm linked with his. My daughter, my blood, consorting with the man destroying us. Carla's notes were blunt. Laura hit a bank downtown, left with a fat envelope, looked nervous. Money's moving. I forwarded the photos to Mark, my message short. Bank. Now. Was Laura stashing more cash? Was Emma in on it? The images burned into my brain, each one a betrayal I'd make them pay for. I couldn't wait any longer. I drove to Emma's Capitol Hill apartment, the trendy loft she'd bought with her Novatech salary, or Ryan's blood money. She opened the door, her auburn hair a mess, her eyes widening at my haggard face. "Dad, what's wrong?" "Everything," I said, shoving past her, my voice a snarl. You're screwing me over, Emma. You and your mom with Ryan Caldwell. Don't lie. I've seen the photos. You at his condo, his bar, cozy as hell. What are you doing to me? Her face crumpled, then hardened, her green eyes flashing with fury. You're spying on me? She screamed, throwing a coffee mug to the floor, the shatter echoing my heart. Dad, you're unhinged. Ryan's my boss, my boyfriend. I'm not betraying you. Why can't you trust me? Boyfriend, I roared, slamming my fist on her counter. He's screwing your mother. I've got texts, Emma, hotels, secrets, your name in their plans. You're either his puppet or his accomplice, and either way, you've turned on me. Emma's tears spilled, but her voice was ice. Get out. You're not my father anymore. You're a monster. She shoved me toward the door, her nails digging into my arm, and I stumbled out, the slam of her door a gunshot to my soul. My daughter, my Emma, had chosen Ryan over me. The pain was a physical thing, tearing me apart as I collapsed against my truck, rain mixing with the tears I couldn't stop. If Laura and Ryan were scheming, I wouldn't let them take what I'd earned. I called my bank from a job site, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Freeze the joint account, I told the manager, a guy I'd known for years. Suspicious activity. He didn't argue. I moved my $80,000 bonus to a new credit union account, Laura's name nowhere near it. My stocks, a decade's savings, went to a locked brokerage account. Our house, titled in my name from a VA loan, was untouchable. I emailed Mark to file protections. If she tries to sell, I wrote, I want her stopped. Mark's reply was urgent. Laura's $50,000 is tied to a Novatech shell company. SEC's sniffing around. Fraud. Maybe laundering. This is big, Thomas. FBI big. FBI? The word was a cold slap, but I didn't care. Laura was a thief, Emma a traitor, Ryan a crook. I'd bury them all. Carla's next report was the match to my fuse. She'd tailed Ryan to a dive bar in Pioneer Square, where he met Victor Hayes, a fixer with a rap sheet for extortion. Photos showed Ryan slipping him a USB drive, their faces tense. Carla's note. Hayes is trouble. If Caldwell's with him, it's dirty. I called Mark, my voice a blade. Ryan's with a fixer. What's he hiding? Mark whistled. Hayes? That's a death knell. Probably laundering data to cover Novatech's tracks. I'm sending this to the FBI. They're already circling. But Thomas, keep Laura and Emma out of it until we're sure. Sure? I was beyond sure. At Novatech's gala next week, where Ryan would preen for investors, I'd strike. I'd bribed an IT guy to hack their presentation system, ready to project Laura's texts, Ryan's deals, Emma's complicity for all to see. They'd be humiliated, exposed, ruined. I sat in my garage, the hammer in my hand again, its weight a promise. I'd win this war, no matter the cost. But as I sharpened my plan, a whisper of doubt crept in, cold as the rain outside. What if I was wrong? What if Laura's surprise wasn't a betrayal, but something else? I crushed the thought, my rage a shield against reason. The evidence was ironclad, texts, photos, money. I was right. I had to be. What I didn't know, what I was too consumed to see, was that my vengeance was a fire racing toward the wrong target, and the truth, gleaming in a Tesla's red bow, would leave me not victorious, but broken beyond repair. What happens when you're so sure you've uncovered a betrayal that you're ready to burn your entire life down to prove it, only to realize you might be the one who's wrong? That was the question I didn't know I needed to ask, as I stood in the glittering ballroom of Novatech's gala, a USB drive burning a hole in my pocket, ready to expose my wife's affair and my daughter's complicity. I thought I had all the answers. Laura's secret texts, Ryan's shady deals, Emma's cold shoulder. But what if the truth wasn't what I thought? And what if my revenge was about to destroy the people I loved most? The air in Seattle's Four Seasons ballroom was thick with wealth and ambition. Novatech's annual gala was a spectacle. Chandeliers dripping with crystal, waiters weaving through crowds with trays of champagne, and the city's tech elite dressed in tailored suits and designer gowns. I stood near the back, my heart pounding like a jackhammer, my cheap blazer feeling out of place among the sea of Armani. Tonight was the night. After weeks of digging, spying, and planning, I was going to bring Ryan Caldwell down. I'd expose his affair with Laura, his financial fraud, and whatever role Emma was playing in this mess. The USB drive in my pocket held everything. Laura's flirty texts with Ryan, photos of their hotel meetups, bank records of the $50,000 transfer, and evidence of Novatech's SEC violations. I'd hacked into the gala's presentation system thanks to a disgruntled IT guy I'd bribed with $500, and when Ryan took the stage, the world would see who he really was. Laura would be humiliated, Emma would face the truth, and I'd walk away with my dignity intact. Or so I thought. The past week had been a blur of rage and resolve. Mark, my lawyer friend, had warned me about the stakes. The FBI's circling Novatech, Thomas. Your evidence, those texts, the bank transfers, the fixer, Victor Hayes, could tip this into a full-blown investigation. But if you go public, there's no turning back. Laura could get dragged in, maybe Emma too. I'd nodded, my jaw tight. Good. They made their choices. Carla, the private investigator, had sent one last report. Ryan and Laura had met again at his Belltown condo, laughing as they loaded a wrapped box into his Tesla. A gift for their new life together? A payoff? I didn't care. I was done asking questions. Tonight, I'd get answers. As the gala began, I scanned the room. Laura was near the front, radiant in a navy gown, chatting with a group of investors. Her smile was perfect, practiced, but I knew the truth behind it. Or thought I did. Emma was at a table with Novatech's marketing team, her auburn hair swept into an elegant updo, her laughter ringing out as she clinked glasses with colleagues. She hadn't spoken to me since our fight at her apartment, when she'd screamed at me to stop spying. Her words still stung. You're being crazy. Was she protecting Ryan? Or was she just too deep in his web to see the truth? Ryan himself was nowhere in sight, probably prepping for his keynote, the golden boy ready to dazzle the crowd with lies about innovation and empowerment. The lights dimmed, and a spotlight hit the stage. Ryan strode out, all charisma and confidence, his tailored suit catching the glow. The crowd applauded, and I felt a surge of nausea. This was the man who'd torn my family apart, who'd seduced my wife and maybe my daughter, who'd built an empire on fraud. His voice boomed through the speakers. Welcome to Novatech's brightest night yet. Tonight, we celebrate our team, our vision, and the future we're building together. The screen behind him lit up with the Novatech logo, and I gripped the USB drive tighter. It was now or never. I slipped into the control booth at the back of the room, where the IT guy had left the system unlocked as promised. My hands shook as I plugged in the USB and uploaded my file, a slideshow I'd spent nights preparing, titled The Truth About Novatech. The first slide was a screenshot of Laura's text to Ryan. Thomas can't know. Not yet. The second showed the $50,000 transfer to Laura's secret account. The third was a photo of Ryan handing a USB to Victor Hayes, the fixer, with a caption, Money Laundering 101. The final slide was a leaked SEC memo, courtesy of Mark's contact, outlining Novatech's inflated valuation. I set the file to override Ryan's presentation and hit play. The screen flickered, and Ryan's logo vanished. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Laura's text filled the 20-foot display. "Thomas can't know. Not yet," it read, in bold white letters against a black background. Ryan froze mid-sentence, his smile faltering. The room went silent, then erupted in whispers. Laura's head snapped toward the screen, her face draining of color. Emma stood up, her glass slipping from her hand and shattering on the floor. I stepped out of the booth, my heart racing, watching the chaos unfold. The next slide appeared, the $50,000 transfer, with Laura's name circled in red. "Consulting fees?" the caption read. "Or a payoff?" The crowd's whispers turned to murmurs of shock. Investors shifted in their seats, some pulling out phones, no doubt texting their lawyers. Ryan stammered, "This is a mistake. Technical error." But the third slide cut him off. Ryan and Victor Hayes in a grainy photo, the USB exchange clear as day. "Meet Novatech's real business partner," the caption sneered. The room was a powder keg, and I'd just lit the fuse. Laura pushed through the crowd, her gown trailing behind her, and grabbed Ryan's arm. "What is this?" she hissed, loud enough for the front rows to hear. Emma was right behind her, her eyes locked on the screen, then darting to me. "Dad?" she said, her voice breaking. "You did this?" I held her gaze, my chest tight with a mix of triumph and guilt. She'd see now, see what her mother and Ryan had done. But why did her face look so broken, so betrayed? The final slide hit. The SEC memo, detailing Novatech's $200 million fraud. The room exploded. Investors shouted, reporters scrambled for their cameras, and Ryan bolted for the stage exit, only to be stopped by two men in suits who'd appeared from the sidelines. FBI? SEC? I didn't care. My plan had worked. Ryan was finished, Laura was exposed, and Emma would have to face the truth. But then everything changed. Emma ran toward me, tears streaming down her face, pushing through the chaos. "Dad, stop this!" she screamed, her voice cutting through the noise. "You don't understand. You're ruining everything." I grabbed her shoulders, my voice low and fierce. "Ruining what, Emma? Your mother's affair? Ryan's scam? You knew, didn't you? You chose them over me." She shook her head, sobbing so hard she could barely speak. "There's no affair. Mom and Ryan were planning your birthday. The $50,000 was for a Tesla, a gift from all of us. I'm not betraying you. I'm dating Ryan. We wanted to surprise you, not hurt you." The world tilted. I let go of her, my hands falling limp. "What?" I whispered, barely audible over the crowd's roar. "A Tesla? A birthday gift? Dating Ryan?" My mind raced, replaying every text, every photo, every assumption. Laura's surprise texts, the wrapped box in Ryan's car. Emma's distance, not betrayal, but nerves about a secret. No affair, no scam involving them, just a plan to make me happy, and I'd blown it to pieces. Laura reached us, her face streaked with mascara, her voice shaking with fury and pain. "Thomas, how could you? You thought I'd cheat on you. With Ryan? He's Emma's boyfriend, you idiot. We were planning your 45th birthday. A party, a car, everything. That money was for the deposit, not some payoff." She gestured to the screen where my slideshow looped back to her text. "You humiliated me in front of everyone." I staggered back, the weight of my mistake crushing me. The crowd was a blur, their voices a dull roar. Emma was dating Ryan, not Laura. The $50,000 was for a Tesla, not fraud. The texts, the hotel meetings, they were about a party, not an affair. I'd hacked the gala, exposed my family, and for what? A lie I'd built in my own head. But the chaos wasn't over. The men in suits were now cuffing Ryan, their voices sharp as they read him his rights. "Ryan Caldwell, you're under arrest for securities fraud and money laundering." The crowd parted, cameras flashing as they led him out. I turned to Mark, who'd appeared beside me, his face grim. "The FBI moved faster than I expected," he said. "Your evidence, Hayes, the shell companies, it sealed the deal. But Thomas, Laura, and Emma aren't part of this. The $50,000 was clean. You got it wrong." I looked at Emma, still sobbing, clinging to Laura. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice hoarse. I thought you were against me." Emma shook her head, unable to speak. Laura's eyes burned with hurt, but she didn't respond. The gala was in shambles, investors storming out, reporters shouting questions. I'd wanted justice, but I'd destroyed my family instead. As security escorted us out, I saw Ryan's Tesla parked in the lot, a red bow on the hood, a cruel reminder of the gift I'd never receive. I'd won my war against Ryan, but at what cost? The truth was out, but it wasn't the one I'd expected. And as I stood in the rain, watching Laura and Emma walk away, I realized the real battle was just beginning. The fight to fix what I'd broken. How do you rebuild a family when your own hands, driven by rage and doubt, have torn it to pieces? That was the question I faced in the ruins of my Seattle home, my heart raw from the truth that Laura's affair was a gift, a Tesla for my birthday, and Emma's betrayal was her love for a man now cuffed by the FBI. But the question that burned deepest, the one that woke me in the dead of night, was this: what does it mean when a stranger's gratitude reveals your vengeance sparked a chain reaction, touching lives you'll never know? The Seattle rain had stopped, but the silence in our Ballard home was heavier, a suffocating fog of regret and unspoken wounds. The Novatech Gala, my planned execution of Laura, Emma, and Ryan Caldwell, had exploded in my face. My slideshow, meant to expose their lies, revealed my own blindness. Laura's secret texts were plans for a Tesla, a $50,000 birthday surprise she'd saved for years to give me. Emma, my daughter, wasn't conspiring against me. She was dating Ryan, a choice I'd misread as treason. And Ryan, the snake I'd despised, was no lover of Laura's, but a fraud. Now in FBI custody for money laundering, his empire crumbling under the evidence I'd sent to Mark. I'd won my war, but the cost was my family, their trust in me shattered by my paranoia and rage. I stood in our kitchen, the same spot where I'd accused Laura of cheating, my hands trembling as I clutched a photo from our wedding, her smile radiant, mine naive. The Thomas was gone, replaced by a man who'd let doubt poison everything. Laura had moved to the guest room, her eyes hollow when she looked at me. Emma hadn't spoken to me since the gala, her tear-streaked face as she fled haunting my dreams. I was a civil engineer, a builder of bridges, but I'd burned the ones that mattered most. Yet, even in my despair, a flicker of hope remained, a chance to rebuild, no matter how painful. The morning after the gala, I found Laura in the backyard, staring at the Tesla parked in our driveway, its red bow now wilted in the damp air. The car, a Model S she'd scrimped for through late-night event planning, was a monument to my failure. I approached, my voice barely a whisper. "Laura, I'm so sorry. I saw the texts, the money, and I thought you were leaving me." She turned, her face a mask of fury and grief, her blonde hair clinging to her tear-damp cheeks. You thought I'd throw away 18 years for Ryan Caldwell? She spat, her voice breaking. I worked myself to death for that car, Thomas. For you! And you humiliated me, in front of everyone, like I was some cheap liar. She shoved past me, her shoulder slamming into mine, and I staggered, the weight of her pain crushing me. I was wrong, I pleaded, following her into the house, my voice hoarse. I saw you with him. The photos, the texts. I thought Emma was helping you hide it. I was scared, Laura. I thought I'd lost you both. She whirled, her eyes blazing. You lost us the moment you chose suspicion over trust. Emma's a wreck. She trusted you, and you called her a traitor. Fix this, Thomas, or I swear, we're done. The door slammed behind her, the echo a knife in my gut. I sank to the floor, my head in my hands, Laura's words searing me. I'd broken my daughter, my wife, myself. I drove to Emma's Capitol Hill apartment, my heart pounding like a war drum. She opened the door, her auburn hair tangled, her green eyes red from crying. "What do you want?" she said, her voice ice, her arms crossed like a shield. "Emma, please," I said, my voice cracking. "I need to make this right. I thought you and Ryan were... I thought you'd turned on me. I was wrong. God, I was so wrong." "Wrong!" she screamed, her hands shaking as she stepped forward, her face inches from mine. "You humiliated me, Dad. You made me feel like a criminal in front of everyone. Ryan's a liar, but I loved him. And you made me hate myself." She shoved me, her nails scraping my chest, and I stumbled back, tears burning my eyes. "I thought I was protecting you," I said, my voice raw. "I saw you with him, the photos, your name in their texts. I thought you were part of their plan. Emma, you're my world. I'd die before I hurt you." "Then why did you?" she sobbed, collapsing against the door frame, her anger dissolving into grief. "You're supposed to be my dad, not my judge." I reached for her, but she flinched, and that flinch was worse than any blow. "I need time," she whispered, shutting the door, leaving me in the cold, the rain starting again like a cruel echo of my failure. Back home, I sat in the garage, my toolbox a silent witness to my unraveling. The hammer I'd gripped in rage now felt heavy, useless. I thought of Mike, rebuilding his life after betrayal, and Gabriella, finding strength in her own worth. Like them, I'd fight for my family, but not with vengeance, with humility. I enrolled us in family counseling, a Seattle therapist who specialized in trust. Laura agreed, her voice flat but willing. Emma was silent, but I sent her a letter, pouring out my regret, promising to earn her trust again. "I'll wait as long as it takes," I wrote, my tears smudging the ink. Days turned to weeks. Laura spoke to me in short sentences, her anger thawing but her hurt deep. At our first counseling session, she gripped my hand, her touch a fragile lifeline. Emma showed up to one session, her eyes avoiding mine, but she stayed, and that was enough for now. The Tesla sat untouched in the driveway, a reminder of my blindness, but Laura promised we'd drive it together when we were ready. "It's still your gift," she said, her voice soft but firm. "But you need to earn it." One night, as I sat alone in our kitchen, an email arrived from an unknown sender. Subject: "Thank you, Thomas Bennett." My pulse quickened. The message was short, but each word hit like a shockwave. "Mr. Bennett, I'm Sarah Nguyen, a single mom from Tacoma. My life savings were tied to Novatech's lies. $30,000, gone to Ryan Caldwell's fraud. Your evidence, sent to the FBI, exposed him. I got my money back last week. My kids have a future because of you. I don't know what it cost you, but thank you. You're a hero to us." I stared at the screen, my throat tight. Sarah Nguyen, a stranger whose life I'd touched without knowing, a victim of the same man who'd nearly destroyed me. I'd sent Mark's evidence to the FBI to hurt Ryan, not to save anyone. Yet my actions, born of rage, had rippled outward, giving a family hope. It was a bittersweet absolution, a reminder that even broken men could mend something. In the quiet of our home, I reflected on the lessons carved into my soul. Doubt can destroy what love builds. My suspicion turned Laura's gift into an affair, Emma's love into betrayal. Trust, not evidence, is the foundation of family. Communication heals what silence breaks. Laura's secrecy, my accusations, we'd built walls where words could have built bridges. Openness is the antidote to doubt. Forgiveness is a journey, not a moment. Laura and Emma's pain wouldn't vanish overnight, but their willingness to try was a start. Healing takes time, and I'd give them all of mine. Actions ripple beyond intent. My vengeance saved Sarah Nguyen, a stranger I'd never meet. Even mistakes can spark good if you face their cost. These lessons weren't just mine, they were universal, etched in every family torn by doubt, every heart seeking redemption. I thought of Nathan, reborn after loss, and Roland, finding truth through pain. Like them, I'd rebuild, not for glory, but for love. As I closed my laptop, the email from Sarah Nguyen glowing in my mind, I heard Laura's footsteps in the hall. She paused, her silhouette soft in the doorway. "Counseling tomorrow," she said, her voice steady. "Don't be late." I nodded, a spark of hope igniting. Emma's silence lingered, but her presence at counseling was a crack in the wall. The Tesla waited outside, a symbol of what we could reclaim. But Sarah's email left me restless. Who else had been touched by my actions? How many lives had Novatech ruined? And what role did I play in their justice? The answers were out there, in the shadows of Seattle's skyline, hinting at another story, one of strangers, redemption, and truths yet to unfold. For now, I'd fight for my family, one painful step at a time, knowing the truth hurts before it heals, and some wounds leave scars that tell their own tale.